Okay, welcome back. Uncut with myself, Jay Cutler. Today we have an absolute legend, Tony Robbins. You literally could go on for days. 15 million volumes sold, 50 million programs sold, life coach, author. This book actually is really cool. It's called Life Force, and it literally, I think you talked to hundreds of the top doctors in kind of just different professions of all over the map. Organ regeneration, fitness and performance, beauty, treating strokes, your brain, cancer, inflammation, obesity, diabetes, Alzheimer's, on and on, mindset, power of decision. This should be a good one. I'm excited about this one. He's a energetic guy. I think he sits up there and performs on stage for 10, 12 hours a day. So this hour-long podcast, hopefully, he brings it, and I'm sure he will, and we learn some valuable stuff. So let's get Tony on. You're a pro at this, so this is probably the easiest thing. The easiest.
I hear you're about to go back to the NFL. Is that true?
I'm trying. If someone will give me a job.
Well, didn't you do it for a short time before you went to Miami? Didn't you do the NFL?
I signed with Fox.
Fox
in the off season, and then Ryan Tannehill got hurt, and Adam Gase was the head coach who had just come from Chicago. And so that happened, and I was like, hey, hell with it. Let's go down to Miami, play one more year, which was fun. I mean, I had a great experience. But I was excited about working with Fox, great group of people over there. And then when I was done with Miami, I've got 3 kids. They're kind of in that young age, and I was like, I don't really want to be gone. Yeah. Again that way. And now, they're 9, 7, and 6, and situation's a little bit better for travel and things like that. And I was talking to Greg Olson last week, and he was like, they're just Zooming everything now. Whenever
it's crazy, isn't it?
whenever I was playing, like they were, the commentators were coming in on Friday to the facility, doing interviews in person. Saturday, they'd meet the away team. And now they're just Zooming it. So you fly in Saturday night, do the game, and you rock out. So, I mean, it's
very cool.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Palm Beach, same thing. I'm Zoom. My whole world is Zoom now. It's crazy. Yeah. My seminars used to be stadiums of 15,000 people. Now I'm doing 25,000 people, but all on a Zoom stadium I built. It's 20-foot high ceilings and 50 feet wide, and I can see about 3,000 people at a time and swipe and just see more. So it's been amazing. And truly, I normally would see 250,000 people in a year, going to maybe 115 cities and 15 countries. Yeah. And I saw 2.2 million people last year, and I got to be home. I have a brand new 11-year-old daughter, so I can totally relate. 11-month-old daughter. I have a 48-year-old daughter, so I have quite a range.
New book out. Life Force. I've got. I don't know how much time you have. I've got a million questions because it literally. This is right up my alley. You're
awesome.
You're hacking life. But the numbers on you are crazy. 15 million volumes sold of books, 15 million programs sold of your business, audio business. You've been doing this for a long time. And I looked up, how old are you?
I'm 62.
You look amazing. I'm 38. I look like shit. You're almost doubling me, and you look amazing.
Thank you very much. But I've been biohacking all along the way. I've had to. That's why I got into this in the first place, right? Yeah. When I'm on stage, I do 50-hour weekends, 12 hours on stage, holding people's attention that wouldn't normally sit for 3 hours. So you got to be able to put out a level of energy that's kind of crazy.
You grew up in California?
Yeah, I grew up in LA.
And then, how did you? Did you know what you wanted? You probably didn't know you were going to get into this world. How did that come about? What did you want to do as a kid? I saw you were a sport.
I wanted to be a professional. I wanted to be a professional baseball player, but when I got cut from the junior high school team, I figured out it was going to be hard to make that happen. But I decided to become a sportscaster, a sports writer, actually. And I started working for a daily newspaper when I was 13. And then I got into public speaking. And then eventually, you know, I was always obsessed with helping people. I was like Mr. Solution. I took a speed reading course when I was in junior high. And I wanted to read a book a day, but I didn't do that. But I read 700 books over a period of 7 years in the area of human development, psychology, physiology.
A speed reading class?
Yeah, yeah. And I just absorbed so much. And then when people had a problem, I loved having the solution, and it kind of grew out of that. But I started when I was 17, so this is going to be my 45th year doing this. It's insane.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, it is a wild ride.
It's insane.
I've had kind of a ticket to history.
Yeah, I mean, I looked up. You interviewed like Howard Cosell as a teenager.
That's right. Yeah, it was wild.
It is very, very, very wild. So, like, why did you go ahead?
I convinced my mother. I was at school and I saw he was signing books for Simon & Schuster, who's now my publisher. And I said, I've got this interview with Howard Cosell because I want to become a sportscaster. And I got her to drive me downtown LA to Robinson's department store. And he was surrounded by all these sports writers when he was at the peak of his, you know, career. And they were talking about Muhammad Ali and the Super Bowl and everything else. And I watched a woman go up and try to get a signature from him, and he wouldn't sign it unless she bought a book. He was really harsh. I thought, holy shit, I'm in deep trouble here. But I had these little business cards that said, Tony J. Robbins, future sportscaster, presently limited brief taped interviews. And I handed him my card, and then he took the moment. So all the reporters sat around, and I started interviewing him. And there used to be a sportscaster in LA who used to hate him called Jim Healy. He used to make video or audios of his dubs every Monday morning or every Tuesday morning after Monday Night Football. And so I was asking all these questions about sportscasting. And then, you know, it was my last question. I said, well, you know, if you woke up the night after Monday Night Football, what would you think about if Jim Healy, you know, wasn't around? And he just said, son, I've never heard of Jim Healy. And everybody laughed. And I got as a result of that, I got an invitation to write an article. And then I started working for a daily newspaper.
That's incredible. And then, I mean, you did Woody Hayes, Tone of the Sorta. I mean, you
did your homework. Wow.
I did. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's incredible as a teenager.
Yeah. I had a lot of drive, that's for sure.
I mean, you still do.
Yes.
It hasn't changed. So, I mean, how did you get into like the motivational speaking and like all the other things that, I mean, you started at a young career?
Well, when I was in high school, I took up speech and I started doing debate and things of that nature. And I was really good. I was very passionate. I had a speech teacher that pulled me aside, and I've been screwing around in class trying to get the girls' attention. And he had me wait after class. He's kind of a really harsh guy. And he says, you know why I've sat you down here? And I said, yeah, the girls. He goes, no. He said, I've never seen anybody that could get up with no notes and just captivate high school students. He said, you have a gift. I want you to go take this speech. It was called The Will to Win. Okay. Memorize it and compete. And I was like, well, I'm not even old enough to do that. He goes, I don't care. I'll get you in.
Yeah. I
read this speech, and it was all about will, which is at that stage the only thing that got me through the things I've been through in my life. I had 4 different fathers, a pretty rough childhood.
Yeah.
And I won the speech competition. It kind of just grew out of that. And then eventually I went to work for a man named Jim Rohn, a personal development speaker. Mm-hmm. And then I learned NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I started challenging psychologists and psychiatrists, saying, give me your worst patient. I'll handle them in 1 hour, not 7 years. And I did that on national radio and then television, and then gradually just grew to working with athletes and then presidents of the United States and everyone you could possibly imagine. Just grew and grew and grew.
Yeah, I mean, success through the roof, obviously. So how did Life Force come about? It's new breakthroughs in precision medicine can transform the quality of your life and those you love. I love it. I mean, I got it last towards the end of last week, and I've been thumbing through it. I'm gonna actually start reading it tomorrow because it's unbelievable.
Thank you. I'm really pleased. I interviewed 150 of the smartest people in the world in the medical field, all the Nobel laureates, scientists, and the best regenerative doctors, because there are these breakthroughs that have been happening. It's like we all know in technology, the power doubles every 2 years and cuts in half. Well, we're all code, so now that's happening here. But what triggered me, I was always looking at how to biohack. I'm on stage, I burn 11,300 calories to give you an idea in one day. I have this group followed me for 3 years. And it's insane. It's just 12 hours of full tilt intensity day after day after day. So it's like the equivalent of 2.5 marathons. And so I've had a biohack anyway, but what made me write this book eventually was I had a pretty severe accident that I thought was career ending. I was chasing a 22-year-old professional snowboarder down the mountain. I did not have his moves.
Not a good
And when
idea.
I woke up from my unconscious hit, I thought I broke my neck, but I just torn my rotator cuffs pretty severely, and I was in 9-9 like pain. And, you go to your doctors. I went to 4 different doctors. They're all surgery. Well, what's the prognosis? Well, you may not be able to lift your arm above your shoulder.
Sure.
You may tear it again.
Yep.
And then how long to rehab? 4 to 6 months. And I was like, I can't be running around doing a seminar with one arm. It just doesn't work. So I started asking about stem cells. Yeah. And, I've worked with some of the greatest athletes in history, and Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the people I know well. And he was supposed to be out for 3 months. And in 3 weeks with stem cells, he was back out on the field. So everybody said, no, it won't work for this. Might for your elbow or your knee, but not something this severe. And then one doc sat me down, literally, Jay, and looked me in the face. He goes, oh, my God, Tony Robbins, you changed my life. I didn't know he was a client. He says, saved all this money. I saved my marriage. He goes on. And he goes, now I got to be your doctor. He goes, look at this. He shows me my spine, and he says, life as you know it is over. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, one good hit. And he said, you're a quadriplegic. He said, you have to understand, you can't jump, you can't run, you can't do it. And, if somebody punches you in the gut, you're ready for it, Jay. You handle it. But it took me a couple hours to get my shit together.
I bet.
And then I was like, there's got to be a better answer than this. And so I went to Peter Diamandis, who's one of my co-authors. He's a MD from Harvard, rocket scientist as well, really well connected in the technology space. And I said, who do you know is the best in stem cells? And he told me about Dr. Bob Harari, who's now my co-author as well, who's a neurosurgeon, but he was the first doctor to ever take stem cells or take young blood out of mice and put it in old mice and watch them get younger and vice versa. And that's how stem cells were discovered 38 years ago. So he turned around and said, Tony, you need a different kind of stem cell than you get in the US. It's too severe. You have spinal stenosis and your shoulder. So he told me where to go. And he said, you need 4-day-old stem cells, and they're cord stem cells. When babies are born, they usually throw away the cord in the placenta.
Yeah.
And I had 3 days of treatment.
You say 4-day-old stem cells?
Yeah, 4-day-olds. Yeah. So not fetal cells. When a baby's born, we usually throw away the placenta or the cord. Now they ask people if they want to keep it. And Bob's the guy who created that.
Oh, I kept it for all 3 of my kids.
I just did for my little daughter as well. It's really important.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is I got this treatment. I got IVs once a day for 3 days. I had shots for 3 days. First day I was tired. Second day I had a cytokine response. I wasn't scared because, I knew what it was, freezing, kind of shaking for 20, 30 minutes. But I woke up on the third day with no pain in my shoulder. My MRI shows it's perfect. And more powerfully, my spinal stenosis is gone after 14 years of pain. So I became an evangelist. I wanted to know everything about stem cells, and I found out it was way more than stem cells. It's this absolute regenerative medicine breakthrough. And then the Pope called and invited me to come speak. Believe it or not, every 2 years he does a program for all the top stem cell doctors in the world. He sees this as a breakthrough from God. Yeah. And he wanted me to be the cleanup speaker. And I said, happy to do that, but I want to go through the whole thing. And during those 4 days, I met people that were sent home to die because they were terminal and they're still alive because they found these new breakthroughs. I met Jack Nicklaus, greatest golfer of all time. He couldn't stand for more than 4 minutes. They're going to fuse his spine. He did stem cells instead. Now he's 82 years old and he's golfing and he's playing tennis. So that's what sent me on the journey of writing this book.
It's incredible. I mean, the science out there and the kind of how fast we've come probably in the last 5 to 10 years is remarkable. And kind of the biohacking, and I mean, there's people out there doing incredible things, from food to cold plunge to infrared to, have you had any experience with NAD?
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, I tell your viewers that most people have heard of it, but, it's important to understand how it works. Most people think about their genome or their DNA as their history or as their destiny, and it's not, as I'm sure you know. It's kind of like your DNA is like the keyboard on, let's say, a piano. Yep. The epigenome is the piano player, determines which genes get turned on or off. That's what really shapes you. But epigenome is shaped by these 7 master genes called sirtuins. Your audience doesn't have to remember it, but just think of 7 master genes that do 4 things. They, number one, they govern your epigenome. So they determine how fast you age, whether you're going to break down or not, turning on and off genes. Second, it reduces inflammation, which, as you know, is the basis of most breakdown. Yep. 3, it determines how food gets converted in your mitochondria in every cell of your body, so the basis of your energy. Yep. And then 4th, it cleans up your DNA. But the problem is when you turn about 45, your NAD drops off the cliff. That's the fuel for these sirtuins. And without the fuel, they don't function. So now it has to decide, do I clean up your DNA as you're aging, which is when you need it the most? Do I give you more energy? It has to split its choices, and the body begins to break down. But the precursor to NAD, you can do NAD. I'm sure you've probably done IVs. But they give you a boost, but they don't absorb well. And then NMN, never mother never, is the molecule that is the precursor for it. And if you take NMN and give it to mice, they last approximately 20% longer in their lifespan. But even more importantly, if you take an old mouse, would be equivalent of a 70-year-old mouse, would be 20-month-old mouse, and you put them on a treadmill, they can go about 1/4 of a kilometer. But if you put a young mouse on there, vibrant mouse, 21-year-old type of mouse, it'll go 4 times that amount, a full kilometer. After 14 days on NMN, these mice, the old mice, will run 2 to 3 kilometers, 200 to 300% more than the strongest mice. But then you have to say, well, does it really transfer? Not all mice studies transfer to humans. And so there have been a whole series of them, and Dr. David Sinclair is probably the top expert in the world from Harvard. He's used it to turn his 83-year-old father around, where now he runs 3 miles a day, outlifts his son in the gym. But what's even more cool is there's a company right now, I actually invested in it when I started studying about it. I heard about them because there was a slip. For 2 years in Boston, the special forces have been doing a test on this new form of NMN. Because the problem is, if you go online and go buy NMN, we tested six different brands from $39 a month, $129 a month, just to see the range. None of them had any NMN in it. I asked the lab guy, how is that possible? These people thieves? And he said, well, it all comes from China. But he said, the real problem is NMN breaks down in about 30 days. By the time it gets to your home, there's nothing in it.
It's dead.
So there's this company called Eden Rock.
Eden Rock?
Been doing this. Eden Rock, yeah. And they have a company called Microbiotech is the actual company. The holding company is called Eden Rock. And they have developed a new form of NMN, a version that does not break down like that. And it's absorbed about 300% more than traditional NMN. But here's what's so cool. The general who's been working on it, they've been doing it for 2 years. The first year is safety. The second year is efficacy. And he was doing a briefing with his team. This is like less than a month ago in Boston. And he didn't realize there was a reporter in the room. So he let some things out. So it's been written up in Boston. It was written up in the Mirror overseas in London and so forth. They don't know everything about it. I can't tell you everything, but what I can tell you that he revealed was, he said, what we see with mice has happened with the strongest athletes in the world, meaning special forces. They have massive increases in their endurance, massive increases in their muscular strength, even though there was no additional stimulus. And most importantly, massive increases in their cognitive capacity. And so when you're behind enemy lines, whether you're going to survive or finish the mission is really what's happening here as much as your body. So it's right now, it will not be a nutraceutical. It'll be, the FDA is evaluating it right now. They think it'll be out in 18 to 24 months. Imagine you could go to your doctor, get something that naturally your body made but makes less of now. And now all of a sudden you have the strongest amount of energy in your body. Your epigenome is functioning at the best. Your inflammation is going down. Your DNA is being cleaned up. That's happening as we speak right now. It's crazy, isn't it?
Speechless.
It's awesome.
I think there's a large group of people that are kind of on this biohacking, figuring out how do we last longer? How do we age better? Because we're the U.S. I think does a very, very poor job with food. I mean, there's so much sugar in our diet. It's insane. And I know you talk about sugar in the books. Like, what is your diet now? I'll ask you one more question. Jordan Peterson, talked about going on just eating meat, and that cleaned up his depression. I mean, I know people that have done the carnivore type of diet. I don't get it that much. I know that there's some Mediterranean diets out there that, people are living to 100 years old, and they relationships, they drink red wine, they have a purpose in life. I mean, I think there's a lot of categories, but like, what is your diet now?
Well, I was a vegan for 10 years. Then for 12 years, I had just fish and salad. I was just really super disciplined. And then it's one of the things I tell people about. You want to test for metals. Because today, you eat fish, for example, think you're going to have this fresh source. And I was eating swordfish and tuna every day.
Yep.
They're 75-year-old fish. They eat the younger fish and absorb all their mercury.
Oh, yep.
I literally ended up having a mercury attack in my body. I lost a third of my blood supply. I burned a hole in my esophagus. And it was just from these fish. It was you're literally not knowing it's there. And most people have these metals in their body. So I'm more Mediterranean now. I'm about 70%, vegetables and salads, and about 25%. I have other fishes now that are cleaner, and I can have some land-based protein as well. Yeah. But that's my basis now for what I do. But like you said, it's also psychological and emotional. Yeah. I wrote in the book, the last 2 chapters, I think are the most important, because after you learn all these incredible tools and technologies that can turn you around, change things, your mind is going to make or break you in the end, as you know, as an athlete, right?
Yeah. Oh,
and so most people know about placebos, but they don't realize placebos are only discovered like in World War II. There was a surgeon in World War II who ran out of, the drug that was supposed to calm them down. The what's the word I'm looking for? Not mercury. But it turned out that the nurse gave him a syringe and said, "Oh, I found some more of this." And so he believed her and looked these people with total certainty and said, "You'll be out of pain in a minute." And they give it to them, not just take them out of pain, but so they don't go into shock. Nobody went into shock. 90% of them became out of pain. He gave them nothing but a placebo, but he had such certainty. Yeah. So when he went back to Harvard after World War II, he's the guy that created what we now look at as modern medicine. We're always compared to a placebo. Mm-hmm. And what most people don't know is the bigger the intervention on the placebo, the more powerful it is. So if I give you a small pill versus a big pill, the big pill is a bigger impact. If I give you an injection that's a placebo, huge impact. Oh, yeah. If we give you a fake surgery, the Veterans Administration in Houston did a study where they opened them up. They did a third of the surgeries on knees where they did nothing to them. They just cut them open and sewed it back up. And 2 years later, the people that had the fake surgery were the ones out of pain, most flexible, most working, and to that point still thought they had a surgery.
It's crazy.
So the brain has incredible power, and we've got to learn to tap it. And that's part of what we teach as well.
Oh, I totally agree. I've read many books on placebos, and like it's the same thing. Like these people will have, big time surgeries. And they'll be like, hey, we're giving you morphine, we're giving you all this stuff, and they give them a placebo. Morphine, I was looking for. Yeah. And they give them a placebo, and they're perfectly fine, no pain and no nothing. And it's like
mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling.
They've even done the opposite, Jay. At Harvard, they gave people barbiturates, which obviously slows the body down massively, and said, big red pill, and said, this is an amphetamine, so be prepared, it's going to speed you up. And their entire biochemistry sped up, even though they gave them not a placebo, but a physical drug that should be doing the opposite.
Yeah.
That's how powerful the mind is.
It is super powerful. Did you know that browsing online using incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? That's right. Without added security, you might as well give away all your private data to hackers, advertisers, your ISP, and other prying eyes. That's why I use IPVanish VPN to make it easy to stay truly private and secure on the internet. IPVanish helps you safely browse the internet by encrypting 100% of your data. This means that your private details, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be completely shielded from falling into the wrong hands. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. You can use IPVanish on unlimited devices without sacrificing on speed, your computers, tablets, phones, even devices like your Fire Stick when you're streaming media. Whether I'm at home or in public, I don't go online anymore without using IPVanish. IPVanish is offering an incredible 70% off their yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's just like getting 9 months for free. Stop sharing with the world everything you stream, everything you search for, and everything you buy. Take your privacy back today with a brand rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Just go to ipvanish.com/Cutler and use promotional code Cutler and claim your 70% savings. That's ipvanish.com/Cutler. Where's your stance on fasting?
I talk about it in the book. Dr. Longo, that you probably know, is one of the best experts in the world on it. Intermittent fasting as well as fasting. I do a lot of intermittent fasting, and once a year I usually do a 5-day to 6-day fast as well. I have a place in Fiji where people actually go and do fasting while they're also learning and engaged, so their mind is engaged as well.
Whenever I was 26, I was playing in Denver, and I lost like 30 pounds through the season. And they're like, hey, it's stress. It's, it was my second year in, I was starting, like, it's just stress. I was like, I'm not that stressed out. It's not that. I was fatigued. I was peeing like 8 times a night. I mean, it was bad. Found out I was type 1 diabetic after the season, autoimmune. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that happened before that. Diet. I used to get allergy shots as a kid, like, some stuff that probably just
altered you.
Altered me, destroyed my pancreas, all the things. But I've found that, fasting has really been and diet, has literally altered, my numbers and made me able to control it completely. But there's another doctor I've talked to, like, that said, like, stem cells could possibly help.
There's actually a study about that I wrote about in the book that's for type 1. It actually regrows stimulates regrowth in the B cells and rebuilds your pancreas. So it's still experimental, that one. It's not locked in yet. For people that have type 2 diabetes, most doctors tell them that, you got to just live with it. Just insane, because doctors in London now have proven you can absolutely wipe it out. It's liver. It's not true for you. It's a different situation for you. But for type 2, which is more common for people listening, you lose 22 pounds and keep it off 2 years, and you will go into total remission. That's the average, because it's liver fat that's in the way that makes the pancreas not be able to function properly. So don't listen to your doctor when they say that. Oh, by the way, all doctors are great people. They work their tail off. Most will give up their own health for their patients. But what the problem is today, that the half-life of medical education, according to Harvard, is somewhere between 18 and 24 months. So half of all they learned is worthless within 24 months. And so who educates them is the pharmaceutical salesman. And that's how you get, opioids out there. Can you imagine being a doctor? You're trying to help your people, and this pharmaceutical salesman says, oh yeah, these opioids, they're fantastic. They're not addictive. And then you find out you people get addicted. Some people, die. I really feel for doctors today, because it's the tempo of new content is so fast. And it takes, I was reading a study, about 17 years to go from initial discovery of something to actual implementation at the clinical level, which is crazy. So that's what I try to do in this book, is bring people that are absolutely the cutting edge right now, that can show them how to change things right now, that are not the standard of care, that'll blow your mind. So whether you're trying to be stronger, have more energy, more vitality, more strength, or whether you're trying to turn around a real disease, you should know all your options. And that's what this book is filled with.
Oh, totally agree. I feel bad for doctors too. It's such a system and a circle and a loophole, and they get stuck in it, and it's just, they're paying them, and like, there's so much out there that, they don't get a chance to do. Let's talk sleep. How much are you sleeping?
Okay. Well, my whole thing was, I used to say,
and how.
Okay. I used to say I'll sleep when I die. And I was actually working on this book. I was working on the sleep chapter at 6:25 a.m. I looked at my watch. I had to be up in 2.5 hours. I go, there's something wrong with this. But then, I met this doctor from UC Berkeley, who's like the top sleep expert in the world, Dr. Walker. And he said to me, Tony, I think I can convince you. Because I said, I never sleep more than 4 or 5 hours. And, 4 doesn't feel like enough, but 5.5 feels pretty good. And he said, Tony, let me just show you. He said, we did a study on 1.6 billion people. I said, that's bullshit. You could never organize such a study.
How?
He said, I didn't have to. It's because it's daylight savings time in 70 countries. So all I needed was the data. And he blew my mind. He said, check this out. Every country in the world, when we just what we just did, where you snap forward, right? And you lose 1 hour. That's it, just 1 hour. For the next 3 days, heart attacks jump 23% on average in every country they do it in.
Wow.
When we fall back and you gain just 1 more hour of sleep for the next 3 days, heart attacks reduce approximately 21% on average across all the countries. So I really try now to get 7 hours, 6.5, 7 hours, whereas before there was just no way that I could do it. And what do? I have night shades and all those things. Try not to stimulate myself too late at night, because I've always been more of a night person. Going to bed at 3, 4, or 5 have been my nature up until now.
I'm the same way. As I get older, I know I need more sleep. But you got to do all the hacks, and prepare yourself and block out the light. Put your phone away. Don't watch TV.
And also, the biggest thing is also changing the temperature in the room and bring it down to 64, 65 degrees. That one, an eye mask, and having some kind of consistency are the three most important things that Walker teaches that really do work.
Yeah, I've got the what the hell is that thing called? The chili pad.
Yeah, chili pad. Yeah,
on my badge. So, I mean, you get in there, and you know,
great.
it's. I mean, it's at 60. I put it down there, but it obviously warms up as you sleep on it. But it's definitely helped me. And then you're big cold plunge, sauna, infrared sauna.
Yeah. People don't have no clue. I start every day. First thing I do, I'm fortunate enough, if I'm near one of my homes, I have 3 homes, and I jump in the cold plunge. If I'm in Sun Valley, Idaho, I literally walk through the snow and get in the river, which is about 39 degrees. My other places are at 56.
Yeah.
But I don't do it. I do it physically because it flushes everything in your body, as you know.
Yep.
It feels incredible when you get out. But there's never a day I look forward to doing it. Never. I do it every day.
I was going to ask you, like, I still hate it. You know, I see, like, you know, Wim Hof is like one of the big ones out there, and like,
yeah, I know, like, Wim.
He's got a smile on his face, and I'm like, damn it, like I never have a smile on my face. I literally look at
I smile afterwards, but not during.
I stand up and look at the water. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want no part of this, but I know I have to do it.
But the beauty of doing it is, like, for me, is that besides the physical health, it's like teaching your brain, when I say go, we go. It's not, I don't sit there and negotiate with myself. Well, let me get ready. I just go. Boom. And then, you know, when you do that over and over again, just like any athlete, right? You train your nervous system to do what you tell it to do. There's no internal negotiation there. And that's a useful thing too. And then saunas. I've always known about saunas, but honestly, I wasn't a big sauna guy till I did the research on this book. And there's millions of people that they've done these studies on, especially in Norwegian countries, because, you know, it's such a part of their lifestyle. Yeah. But you can reduce your chance of a heart attack if you go to a sauna 4 times a week at 160 degrees for 20 minutes. You reduce your chance of a heart attack by 51%, reduce your chance of stroke by 61%, and overall chances of dying drop by 42%. It's insane. So even people that don't want to work out, I'll often now get them to start with a sauna. Sure. And what happens after a few weeks, they feel so good, they feel like working out. But even if they don't, it'll transform their life, just because, you know, those heat shock proteins in your body that make this difference in how things function. What kind of sauna do you use? I have an infrared version, and I also have a version of traditional steam version. Who makes infrared? Oh, gosh. I put it in the book. I apologize. I can't remember the name of the brand. I think it's Elfmade or something like that. Yeah, I think you're right. It is in there, because I saw it when I was skimming through. I did see that. I mean, getting them to like 160 and stuff, like those high temperatures, like it takes kind of there's only a handful of them that can do those. Yeah, that one does it. That one will take you to 170 even on that one if you hold it on long enough. Yeah, I got to get a new one then. Vitamins. Do you take vitamins? Like, what's your stance here? What are you taking? Tons of different nutraceuticals, but I work with a doc that's uses AI to analyze all the different ingredients and how they impact and so forth. And so I describe that in the book. And same thing with peptides. You know, the Russians discovered peptides years ago, and these small chain amino acids that, I mean, there's some that will do just about anything you can imagine. Heal your gut, increase your energy. For women, increase their desire sexually and so forth, because it works on the brain. Men can just have blood flow, but women need their brain engaged in a different way. They're a little more sophisticated than us. Yes, we're easy, right? We just kind of show up. Peptides are really invaluable as well, and there's a whole list of the different peptides, what they do, and how you can utilize them to make changes in your body. But, you know, the other thing that's really important, Jay, is that, you know, a lot of people, when I first wrote this book, I did a bunch of homework. We interviewed hundreds of people in different age groups just to figure out what were they focused on, what were they concerned about. And my mind was blown to see people in their 30s concerned about cancer and concerned about Alzheimer's. And my next question was Alzheimer's. Oh, great. Well, let me start with cancer, if you don't mind. Absolutely. I think it's so important. You know, I used to have this huge fear of cancer. I grew up at a really young age. I'd been very successful. And so part of my brain was like, well, maybe I'm, you know, successful. I'm young because I'm going to die young. It's what your brain does weird shit, right? Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I kept dreaming about it, thinking about it. And sure enough, I was diagnosed with a tumor later on. I still have it in my pituitary gland. It's why I'm so big. I'm 6'7". I was 5'1" in high school. Yeah, you grew. Didn't you grow 10 inches? Yeah, 10 inches in a year. That's I tell people the difference is personal growth, right? So, but I literally had a tumor that made this happen. So I dealt with it. But today, You know, the National Cancer Society did a study with 100,000 people, and they found that if you get diagnosed with stage 3 or stage 4, you have an 80% chance of dying. I prefer the 20% chance of living.
Yeah.
But their point is it's much harder to turn around, which they're right.
Sure.
If you catch somebody at stage 1 or 2, then you have an 80 to 99.9% chance of living, right? And 40% of all Americans are going to be diagnosed at some point in their life. So the ones that get us, you know, like we have mammograms for women or colonoscopies at a certain stage of life, but the ones that get us are the ones we don't really have tests for. And one of the cool things about this book is I tell you the stories of all these incredible breakthrough doctors and then what they brought to the table today. And almost all of them had something in common, Jay, which is they all lost a wife or a husband or a child or someone close to them, and it drove them to get new answers and go through the 20 years to now make these things possible. Well, one of those guys created this new test that was just created in the last 6 months, and it's called Grail. And it's a simple blood test, and it can find up to 50 different cancers before they ever show up.
What? Spell that?
Grail, Grail. And it's in the book as well, but what I can tell you is, I'll give you an example. We had a guy come to we have these centers called Fat and Life centers all across the U.S. and overseas. And we have top doctors there, like all the Pittsburgh Steelers, the entire team is our clients, to give you an idea. We work on peak performance, but also turning around. So this man comes to one of our Fat and Life centers. His wife has been pushing him to do the cutting edge type of stuff. And he's already had a physical, and he already had his urinalysis and so forth. So we give him the Grail test, and the guy's got bladder cancer, but stage 1. At stage 1, it was a 30-minute inpatient procedure. Didn't have to go to the hospital or anything, and now he's fine.
In and out,
And so it's like you want to know. And then there's another cool test that's brand new that just came out that's one of the biggest breakthroughs in heart disease, which is the #1 killer of men and women. One of my partners called me, and he's a doc that built 12 hospitals, had been in the business forever, and then finally got so sick of disease care, he sold all his hospitals and built these cutting-edge centers. And so he calls me up, and he's Mr. Understatement. He'll never overstate anything, which I love about him. But he says to me, Tony, he goes, I think I've come across one of the greatest breakthroughs in the last 10 years in cardiology. I said, what is it? He goes, well, you've had a CT scan before where they scan your body, your heart. And I said, yeah. And he goes, they're super hard to read, even for an expert doctor. They're very grade. And there's no way to tell the difference between a soft plaque and a calcified plaque. He said, calcified plaque means you're healed. Soft plaque, if it breaks off, that's the widowmaker. It can give you a heart attack or a stroke. And he goes, Tony, they have a brand new tool of AI that literally digitally opens up every artery inside you, and they can go in and see and measure how much of this is calcified, which means you're fine, versus how much of it could break off, is soft tissue, soft calcium. And he said, Tony, it's mind-boggling. So I said, all right, I'm going to come in and do it. What the hell? I'd love to know. And he goes, by the way, they can predict a heart attack 10 years in advance and tell you what to do to prevent it. So I'm in. At this stage, I used to go, I don't want these tests. Today, the technology is so good. You want to know. You want to catch it when it's small. So my 80-year-old father-in-law was visiting, and he was like a lumberjack guy. Started his own business, a lumber business. Just a great guy. But, you turn 80, and everybody around you starts saying, you better arrange your affairs. And I've watched the last couple of years where he started to drift down, just psychologically. So I said, hey, Pops, I said, I'm going to go do this test. I said, we're both at a stage of life where we're going to have soft plaques, but they'll tell us where they are, what to do. Why don't you come with me? So he comes. We do the test. My father-in-law is clean as a freaking whistle, man. The guy doesn't have anything wrong with him at all. And all of a sudden, he's got this new walk in his step, jump in his step. And then we have this treatment that we do for a lot of athletes who think they have a career-ending injury. And it goes in and uses ultrasound, and it finds where your connective tissue has blocked flow of blood flow or oxygen, or nerves are trapped. I had it done on an ankle that for 14, 15 years, I couldn't even stand on properly. You couldn't touch it. Like someone do a massage, it felt like somebody's electrifying me. It took 10 minutes, and it's been totally perfect. And smacked the hell out of it, no problem. So what makes you feel old is you don't move well, or you're worried about your heart, right? So he's not worried about his heart. So I said, Dad, you got this problem with your hip. Why don't you have these guys look at you? 30 minutes later, they find 2 spots where it's trapped. They open it up. Now he's walking smooth as silk. So we get on the plane to come home here, and I'll never forget, he sits across from me, crosses his arms, and he goes, Tony, people talk about living 110, 120. He goes, I think that might be bullshit, but, I could live another 20 years. I could live to 100. You've only known my daughter for 22 years. He's like completely changed. So these kinds of tests shift you.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they completely shift you. I mean, and it shifts your brain. Like, we talk about how important your brain is. Like you said, you get to this point in your life and you're like, all right, it could happen tomorrow. It could happen 5, best case 10. But you get these tests done, and all of a sudden it's like, well, no, maybe it's 20. Could easily be 20.
That's right. His heart's like a 25-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So he didn't know that. Because the original test wouldn't tell you that. Because the original test will give you a calcium score, but includes, because they can't tell the difference in a traditional CT scan, your calcified stuff. Your calcified stuff is healed. Sure. So you're strong.
You're good to go.
And then the other test that everybody should do is a hormone test if they're over 35, because most women are familiar with it for menopause, but that's hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
So what you want is hormone optimization, because if you want to stay young and strong, that is the fountain of youth. And so we had a guy come in, for example, 37 years old, 32 pounds overweight, lost all his drive. And we said, well, let's look at how's your hormones look. He said, oh, they're fine. The leader's hormones, his testosterone was like 157. Well, most doctors don't replace it till you're under 100 where you feel like you're dead. I mean, most men, if you have less than 700 or 800 in testosterone, you don't feel like a man.
Yeah.
So we give him small amounts of testosterone, and all of a sudden he loses the weight, he's got his drive back, feels younger, his whole life's there. Yep. So there's so many tools that can change you that are so powerful and so simple that most people are just unaware of them, or they've heard about them and they think it's for replacement when you're old. Well, why get old in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I got on testosterone just to get back to optimum. Yeah. I mean, and it's a game changer. Like It fixes so many things.
Uncut with Jay Cutler is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive helps you get a great rate on car insurance, even if it's not with them. They have this nifty comparison tool that puts rates side by side, so you choose a rate and coverages that work for you. Say you're interested in lowering your rate on your car insurance, visit Progressive.com to get a quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's rate, and then their tool will provide options from other companies, all lined up and easy to compare. So that all you have to do is choose the rate and coverages you like. Progressive gives you options so you can make the best choice for you. You could be looking forward to saving money in the near future. More money for, say, a pair of noise-canceling headphones, an Instapot, more puzzles, whatever brings you joy. Get a quote today at Progressive.com. It's one small step you can do today that can make a big impact on your budget tomorrow. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Tell me about diet and DNA.
Yes. Well, you can do tests now. We have it in the book there. There's a couple companies that do it now that will test your DNA and see what you're aligned with. Because, every diet you hear rotation. Mm-hmm. There's always a different evil. It's fat, protein. What's true is you need to know how your body functions. So for me, for example, I burn fats. So taking in good fats is incredibly valuable. My wife is a carb burner. So as a result, she has hypoglycemia if she doesn't eat about every 3 hours. I can go 12, 14 hours and not eat a damn thing.
Yep.
And, I'm still ready to go because I'm fat burned so slowly. Yep. So knowing what your body really burns is the ideal diet. Instead of just let me keep trying different diets. Sure. Why not see what your body actually burns?
Makes a ton of sense. Gosh, I mean, I could literally do this for 16 hours. I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge. This book is amazing. Like I said, Tony Robbins, Life Force, out now. Are you still doing seminars? Like, what are you up to now?
Oh yeah. I mean, when COVID hit, if you can imagine, most of I have 105 companies, but my company that matters to me the most is the company that I do my seminars with, because it's really my mission more than my business per se. I do about $7 billion in business to give you an idea across all the other companies, and yet this is the one I give most of my time to because this is what I'm taught by. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden, the governor of California calls me. We're about to do a seminar for 15,000 people, and he goes, "Sorry, Tony, I'm about to announce that we're going to have only 10 people in any room." I'm like, "What?" So I said, "Screw it. We're going to Vegas. They're never going to shut down Vegas, right?" Well, they shut down Vegas. So I was like, "Okay, I'm going to get 1,500 movie theaters and put 10 people in each one. Mm-hmm. They'll do it locally near their home. They can still be around people on a big screen. They shut down the movie theaters." And I was like, okay, I got a buddy in Houston that has a great church. Mm-hmm. It's got 15,000 seats. I'm going to rent his church. And they're not going to keep Costco open and shut down the church. They shut down the churches and kept Costco open, right? So a friend of mine said, "You got to do a webinar." And I'm like, I went and watched a guy do a webinar on these little screen, 52-inch screens. I was like, this is bullshit. I'm used to a stadium and rocking, So I said, I got to create something. So I decided, I took out a tape recorder, I put my team together. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to find a building with 50-foot high ceilings. I'm going to do 20-foot high LED screens, 50 feet wide in a circle around me. I'm going to call Eric Yon at Zoom and say, I need more than 1,000 people. Let's expand it so we can do 25,000 or 50,000.
Yeah.
I created software with a phone so that you can shake your phone instead of clapping. Mm-hmm. And then the more people shake it, the louder it gets. So it's authentic and you get the experience. I can bring people up and interact with them. Yeah. So now what used to be a 15,000 person seminar, I'm doing one on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I have 25,000 people from 195 countries in every time zone, to give an idea, Jay. So I'm starting there at 10 a.m. The Australians start at midnight, and we go 13 hours a day. So they literally go to 1 p.m. in the afternoon each day. Grinding. And every one of them, but I can see them in their homes with their kids, what's going on. And it's a lot of women that didn't come before because they want to be apart from their kids now participate in the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would normally I'd go to 115 cities on average in a year doing multi-day seminars. I'd see 250,000 people. Last year, I've seen over 2 million people doing programs like this. So it's really given me another scale to reach people, which I've been really grateful for. Plus, I got to be home, which I've never been home. Yeah. And we were trying to have a kid, and I have 5 kids and 5 grandkids, but I have now another young daughter. So I have a 48-year-old daughter and an 11-month-old daughter. Give you an extreme of my life. It's pretty crazy.
It's fun. I mean, you're a relationship guy, and you're creating relationships, and you're making a positive impact on the world, and that's what we need more of. And books out, get it. It is like I said, it's a wealth of knowledge. There's so much stuff in here.
By the way, we're donating 100% of the profits of the book, which I've done for my last 3 books. I've fed people throughout my life because I was fed when I was a kid. Yeah. But I'm now up to 850 million meals in my partnership with Feeding America. I said I feed 1 billion people, so we're a couple of years ahead. So we feed 20 million people with this book. Plus the balance goes to take care of research on Alzheimer's, heart disease, and cancer.
Like I said, unbelievable positive impact in the world. You're doing the right things. You're killing it. And get the book. Go see Tony. Do it all because you've figured out life in the right way.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. It's been enlightening for me. People are gonna like it, and I wish you the best of luck, even though you don't need it. You're already a rock star.
Thank you, brother. Take good care of yourself.
Thanks, Tony.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was one of my favorite ones. We got to kind of talk about all the stuff that I wanted to talk about and learned a lot. Get the book, Life Force, out now. A lot of awesome stuff in here. Can help change your life, kind of biohack a little bit, and then find out where Tony's going to be. He's all over the map. Like he said, he's doing stuff online too, so you don't really even have to leave your house. That was fun. That was different. That was a good one though. Hit me up, Instagram, Twitter, all the things. Let me know how we're doing. Let me know who you want to hear coming up. We got some good ones in line, but always open for ideas. So that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Check out Tony online, on his Instagram, all the things. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it.